Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Corner Office here. We got a quick one for you just to get our NFL picks out before we get home for the break period. Maybe we'll have some stuff coming for you in the next couple of weeks here while Jack and I are both at home for a bit. It's been a long semester. I'm ready to go back to the house. I haven't been to my house since I left in August, and I'm excited to get off campus for a little bit here.
Yeah, I believe that being on campus is like you get kind of caught in this vortex and you forget that there's outside world until you actually leave it. So it'll definitely be refreshing. And then we come back and it's 3 weeks before we go back. I mean, no one listening cares about this. So maybe we just jump straight into our NFL talk from last week.
Okay. I mean, look, I have some notes that I've written behind me because I have this massive whiteboard here that I just, decided to utilize about what happened last week. Across, we can talk about football first. The first thing that I think we've really learned, if that makes sense to anybody out there, is don't bet on the Browns.
No.
Ever.
That's on you and me.
We both picked the Browns because, look, we said Jameis is someone that you can't bet against, and I understand that because, look, I mean, we all love Jameis Winston, but let's be 100% clear. This team is horrendous. They're awful. I don't know what is going on in Cleveland right now. I don't know how with that defense they're so bad.
I don't think that they're expected to be that good. I mean, if it's a two-sided coin, right? I mean, if you look at their wide receivers, Cedric Tillman and Jerry Jeudy have both kind of caught footballs, which is something that they aren't really known for in their career.
They have definitely, they've caught football. I mean, dude, the crazy thing is like Jameis isn't even playing that bad. Like last week,
he hasn't been throwing picks.
And 2 tuds.
He hasn't been throwing picks, and this is not Jameis, by the way, which is a completely separate conversation. If I'm going to fully endorse J-Mo ball, I want at least 2 interceptions, and I haven't gotten any.
So I mean, just let the loose cannon fire. You're 2-8 at this point. Just let him sling the rock around. He did have 3 interceptions against the Chargers, which is a lot. And I think that's kind of what you're expecting is him to either throw picks or throw touchdowns. But I just think that this team has overall been disappointing, and I don't know how long they're going to be able to keep Myles Garrett on the roster if they're not winning games. And he's definitely the best outside line. Like he's the best edge rusher in the game right now.
Yeah, I mean, without a debate. And you also have Denzel Ward in your secondary, who's one of the best corners in the game right now. I believe that. I mean, at least to me, the unanimous top 2 is him and Pat Surtain. So. I mean, you got to find a way to keep these guys around, but the real question is, how much better does it get when Deshaun Watson's back?
Awful. It doesn't get better.
Does it get better?
That's the problem. Yeah, no, of course not.
So then what's the next move?
Yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea what they're supposed to do here.
Right. So, I think the real question is, can it get better? And I think the realistic answer is no.
And how long can you wait with it being as bad as it is until you just decide to go full rebuild mode?
Right. Like, why don't you do that now?
I mean, you're projected to get a top 5 pick in this upcoming draft right now, the way that you've been playing. And I think they're going to continue on that route. And maybe you rehab Nick Chubb and you hope that maybe you get one more year to run it back with these guys, because this is the first time Nick Chubb has touched a football in over a year. Right.
And he probably only has 2 or 3 years left.
Correct. But you're hoping that maybe he can get back to like 75% of the back that he used to be before the injury. But yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea.
All right, let's talk about the main big story from last week. Chiefs finally lost, and there was no massive trickery that happened in the game. There was nothing that I could have complained about, refereeing-wise. And the Chiefs actually lost a football game. Hallelujah.
Yeah, let's take a look. That's also on the board here. We have Chiefs lose, America wins. Just wanted to throw that out there. The perfect season is over. Thank God. Don't have to see that anymore. Taylor Swift can write about it on her new album. But
have you seen the like graphic where it's like Tom Brady during his 10-0 start and Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah.
Brady has like
38 touchdowns
and 4 picks, and Mahomes is like 12 touchdowns and like 9 interceptions.
Look, I think it's a legitimate conversation this year that Patrick Mahomes has not been a good quarterback.
I would actually agree. I would agree with that.
He has not played super well this far. I mean, he hasn't thrown a ton of touchdown passes. Obviously, you lose guys like who Pacheco hasn't been playing. Rashee Rice has been out for a while, right?
Right.
So like you've lost a lot of weapons, and like that makes sense as to like why maybe you aren't doing as well offensively, and they found ways to win against some pretty bad teams. If I'm being honest with you, I don't really think they played D1. That I
And
look
they
at.
actually, if you look at their schedule, they will continue to not play anyone.
I agree. So this is kind of a situation. You mentioned the Steelers from like 2018 the other day when they were like, or 2020 maybe.
2020, yep.
2020 Steelers when they were like 11-0, and then they just lost in the wild card. It kind of has a similar vibe to that. But I mean, obviously, you never want to pick against the Chiefs just because they've been so dominant. And like Andy Reid is a really good coach, in my opinion. Like the way that he has gotten this roster to 9-1 is pretty impressive. But the Bills impose their will. And look, I'm always a bit skeptical of the Bills. You know what I mean? Like they always are a team that I'm like, okay, they get it done in the regular season. They don't do it in crunch time. They don't do it in the playoffs. And there's always a few weeks where they play a really good team and then they just completely fall apart. But they really impressed me today. Or not today, but when they played. And, I think that Josh Allen is really continuing to put himself into MVP conversations with the way that he's been playing this far.
Yeah, Josh Allen was a big dog at the end of that game. Yeah. That touchdown run, get off me, little ass boy. I'm a big dog. I'm going to roof my way into the end zone. Bro, I was watching that run. I'm sorry to cut you off. Yeah, I was watching that run. He is literally unstoppable. He decides when he wants to be good and when he wants to be bad. And when he decides he wants to be good, he is the best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts. I think right now Lamar is probably the runaway MVP. If you were to bet on it, aside from like, look, if Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals were above 500, he'd be my pick.
Agreed.
But Lamar, I think, is probably the guy that they're going to give it to, despite the voter fatigue. But like Josh Allen, despite having only like an 85 or below passer rating in this game, like still finds a way to win them the game, and like that's just like kind of the player that he can be when he's allowed to do what he wants. And when he's, imposing his will on a defense, like that's always a good thing. But this Chiefs team is continuing to be on fraud watch, in my opinion. I'm going to write that down right now. I'm going to write fraud watch on the board here.
Make sure it's in like big letters too.
I'm gonna bubble letter it, but
all right, yeah. Sweet. Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. This Chiefs team obviously is dealing with some injuries, and I think that they're set to get Pacheco back in the next week or so. And so I think that once they get Pacheco back, they get a little bit more confident. Obviously, no Rashee Rice hurts, but you add a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, you would think that they would be doing a better job of putting it together. And so the fact that they're still, like, if you're a Chiefs fan, I don't think you are confident going into any game right now, even at 9-1. I think that you're watching and you're nervous about whether or not you're actually going to be able to win. And I think that having now been knocked off the win train, obviously, I mean, they play the Panthers next week. That's pretty much a guaranteed win. And they still have a bunch of division games.
You would really hope so, yeah.
You'd really hope so. They still have a game against the Raiders, Browns, and then in December, they have some really tough games. To end their season, they have some tough games. So I think they could actually legitimately go on a losing streak. I mean, they got to play a tough Chargers team, a tough Texans team, a really tough Steelers team right now, and a pretty tough Broncos team. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you could be looking at four losses going into the playoffs at that point.
But that being said, like this is one of the easier schedules that I think a team is going to be seeing for the rest of the year. You know what I mean? Like I don't think by any means that's a tough schedule.
I would agree.
I really don't.
I would agree.
But that being said, yeah, again, we got the Chiefs on.
Chiefs are on fraud watch. You know who's on being good at football watch? The Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think we have been fading them all year. I think it might be time for us to admit that they're actually good at football.
Yeah, it's hard just because they play so ugly. Like every game I hate to watch. You know what I mean? They won 18-16 over them winning 18-16 over the Baltimore Ravens on Thursday Night Football is like the most. Or when was it?
It was Sunday. Sunday
Night Football was the most Mike Tomlin game I have ever seen ever.
Like Justin Tucker had 2 missed field goals. Is he washed? He might be.
He
certainly might be.
But that was just like the most Steelers game ever. That's all they do. You know, they win these really tight matchups where the game is just muddy. No one plays well. Russell Wilson only throws for 205 yards. Their defense is electric. TJ Watt is obviously a top edge rusher in the game as well. And Mike Tomlin just can't keep getting away with this, man.
That's what I'm saying. Like, is it actually them being good at football, or is it just them being annoying? Like, is it just them figuring? They're 8-2. There's no way that this team should be 8-2.
It's insane.
It's actually frustrating. Watching that game, I was frustrated last week.
Yeah, but then again, the Ravens always have these games where they have lapses, and I think that they will respond this week. If I had to, if I had to say right here and right now.
And they are playing a Chargers team that is hot right now. Some teams that are pretty much like flip a coin as to see what version of them you get on a weekly basis. I'm going to start with the Packers. I mean, they won last week, but it was a very close game against the Bears team that hadn't scored Caleb Williams hasn't thrown a passing touchdown since like October 14th or something like that. October 12th, maybe. It's been noted, 6 weeks since he's thrown a passing touchdown.
It should be noted that the Bears haven't beat the Packers in 12 games. They haven't won against the Packers in 6 years. Do you know how ridiculous of a stat that is?
Yeah.
That's your division rival. And to be fair, the Packers won this game on a missed field goal, which is the most Bears thing I've ever seen.
Ever.
But like, yeah, I don't know.
There was an influx of missed field goals last week. It was ridiculous.
A lot of them. There were
so many missed field goals.
The Packers are a team that you just have no idea what you're getting from. And
Jordan Love, they've had games where they look absolutely phenomenal. And then they've had games where they limp their way to the finish line.
I think Jordan Love has thrown an interception in every game this season.
He has. He's thrown one in 9 straight. It's been 9 straight games. Yeah.
He has been incredibly hot with the arm punt right now. And I don't know if they want to keep him that way. Maybe cool him down, make him rest until the playoff time.
That's Josh Allen's impact on the NFL, dude. He was the first arm punter. I mean, last year, all we did was talk about the Josh Allen arm punt.
I think Flacco was there, but yes, but Josh Allen definitely like Ray Allen started shooting threes and Steph revolutionized it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Flacco started the arm punt and then Josh Allen made it,
I was going to say, Dr. J was the first real dunk contest winner, and then Vince Carter blew him out of the water.
Right. Like what's crazy about the NFC North right now is the Packers are 7-3 and they're third in the division. So like, no, you don't know what you're getting from them, but they also play a really tough schedule. You know what I mean? Like they play the 9-1 Lions. They play the 8-2 Vikings 2 times this year. So like those are games that they're going to have to win. Now I think Matt LaFleur is a fantastic coach and has put them in positions to win. But you got to be expecting more if you're a Bears fan. Straight up, like this was a team that came into the year with some expectations, which to be fair, they probably shouldn't have had. But I don't know why I'm pivoting to the Bears. Like the Bears
are 4-6 right now. I think that's pretty much where you figured they would end up. It's like the lowest they could be without like disappointing their expectations.
Okay. But yeah, I mean the Packers play the 49ers this week. Another team that I have no idea if they're good or not. And this game could go any which way. I have no clue.
Well, there's 4 different ways this game could go. Either both teams will play to their ceiling and it will be game of the year. Yep. Or one team will play well, the other will play horribly. And then vice versa. And then both teams could play horribly to their basement, and it could be one of the worst games of the season. And judging by the way this NFL season has gone so far, I think it's probably going to be that one.
So there are 4 outcomes to any football game ever, and you could see any of them happening in this game.
Correct. All right, that's really what I mean. Like the entire realm of possibility is completely plausible in this game.
There's a lot that's up in the air for this one, so I'm interested to watch this one because it's probably going to be our game of the week this week. Just a little teaser, I guess. But like that being said, this could easily be the worst game on television.
It could be, yeah. It has not game of the week potential. I think our not game of the week has potential to be a much better game than this one, but we will get there later. Another question I wanted to ask you. Something we've talked about so far this entire NBA season is that there's no real Rookie of the Year race. But I think that you can make a similar point about the NFL. I think that Jaden Daniels kind of runs away with it right now.
Yep.
And then guys who are in contention are obviously Caleb Williams, probably not Drake May, probably Malik Neighbors. And then I think Bo Nix has officially entered himself in that Rookie of the Year conversation.
Yeah, I agree. I think that he's either 1A or one. I think Jaden Daniels is 1A and Nix is 1B. Daniels has kind of cooled off, I think, a little bit since his really hot start to the season. But that being said, like I think that the Eagles, which was another team that I had on Fraud Watch to start the year, have officially become a really good team.
Yeah.
So like obviously they play in a tough division. But Bo Nix has been playing really good football. And as a guy who was supposedly drafted way too high, I think for a lot of people, I think he's played really well. And, look, this Broncos team by no means is like an offense first team. Like the thing that has gotten them over the goal line is their defense and their secondary in particular being so damn good.
Yeah.
But they just battered the Falcons, who is another team that I have absolutely no idea what's going on with. That whole division.
I mean, you could list probably 10 or 12 teams that you just have absolutely no idea what's going on.
What type of team am I going to see?
Yeah, I mean, we can't really get bogged down on all of those. But I mean, I agree with you generally. I was a Bo Nix hater. I still kind of am. Just because like I thought that he was fine coming out of college. I didn't think he did a ton with that Oregon team. I didn't think he did a ton with Auburn before that, and then he got drafted way higher than I thought. So I thought that he had the possibility of being good, but I didn't think that they would come right out of the gates with him. I thought it might take a little bit. He has completely outperformed my expectations, and I find myself rooting for the Denver Broncos to win football games, and that'll be reflected in our picks this week. But I mean, to be honest with you, I think that he's been great, and I think that Denver feels like right now they have their guy for the first time since Peyton Manning left.
There you go.
And they haven't made the playoffs since Peyton Manning left.
That sounds right, because they had like the Brock Osweiler saga and some other stuff.
Drew Lock,
and then the Drew Lock saga. Yep, I was about to say that. They've had some really bad quarterback plays, so hopefully this is the guy that they found, because I think a lot of people were pulling up like Kenny Pickett comparisons with Bo Nix, and I don't know if that's going to be true. Because he's looked pretty solid. One thing of note is I think we mentioned it last week that the runaway best team in the NFL right now is definitely the Detroit Lions.
Correct.
They have put up 2 50-point games this year. And to go along with that, they have a 47-point game against the Cowboys. Is this the best Lions team that I think this is the best Lions team I've ever seen in my lifetime?
It is the best Lions team ever, and I can confidently say that.
Okay. I didn't know if I wanted to go there or not, but like they are legit right now.
Oh yeah. And they look like the best team in the NFL, and I don't think you can even argue it with any other team. I think that they are the clear number one best team in the NFL. And they aren't even playing with Aiden Hutchinson right now. They're looking like they might go make a move for an outside edge rusher. So, I mean, if that happens, it's going to be real dangerous for the rest of the NFL.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. I mean, they're winning games when we talked about it last week. They're winning games when Jared Goff throws 5 interceptions. When he plays good football, they're it's untouchable.
Over. Yeah,
they're untouchable.
Who's their one loss to?
The Buccaneers early in the season, like week 2. They've rattled off like 8 straight after that. They were 1-1 to start the year. But they have the best two-back system in the NFL, and Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, a power back and a speed back. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown looks like a great wide receiver 1. You have Laporta. Like you are in really, really good shape.
And even Jameson Williams has been great for them.
Yeah.
They have serious depth at their wide receiver positions. And I mean, I think it comes back to that question that we talk about at the beginning of every season, right? Can a game manager win you an NFL Super Bowl? And I think that Jared Goff is the dictionary definition of a game manager. Mm-hmm. And this is really the best chance of a team that we've had to see if they can win a Super Bowl with a game manager. It's going to really answer that question this year, I think.
I agree. All right, if you don't mind, let's pivot to the NBA really quickly just to touch on like 2 or 3 things that happened this year or this week. The last note I have on my board, aside from Fraud Watch, which I don't think either of these teams are on, is Tatum owns the East. The Boston Celtics defeat the Cleveland Cavaliers to give them their first loss of the season. They're still sitting at 16-1. They had a massive bounce-back game last night against the Pelicans, who have looked horrible, by the way.
Did you see that Pelicans starting lineup?
Oh, so bad.
So bad. It
So
was Elfrid Payton, Boston, Javonte Green,
Yves Measy.
yeah, Measy. It was 5 guys starting for the first time for the Pelicans.
Really, really hard thing to look at.
Yeah.
But that being said, look, I think neither of these teams are bad. Like, I think Cleveland proved that they can push Boston to a pretty good series in the playoffs, but this was a statement game for Boston to come out and win. They shut Darius Garland down completely. I think he was like 3 for 21 from the field, 0 for 6 from 3. Like, they really just dominated on they didn't dominate. Like, let's not make it sound like I don't want to make it sound like the Boston Celtics came out and imposed their will for the entire, 40 minutes of this game. But like, I think I was very impressed with the way that Boston, handled themselves and got this win, because obviously it keeps them in contention for the in-season tournament, which really doesn't matter that much. But this was a game, I think, for the public and especially for Boston sports fans to be like, okay, like, we're okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we needed to get this win.
Yeah. I mean, Celtics, I thought, looked great. They always struggle out of the third quarter, and that's kind of when the Cavs made their shifts. But I think you look at the Celtics right now, and without KP, Jason Tatum has been leading this team. And I mean, where do you think he lands in the MVP ladder right now?
I think he's like 2 or 3, probably.
It's got to be 2 or 3. I mean,
yeah, he's up there.
This is so far, in my opinion, the best version we've seen of Jason Tatum on the stretch that he's going on. He's shooting 40% from 3, taking 11 threes a game, which is going to, I mean, it's a lot of points right there.
Yep.
And then, I mean, he's shooting 45% from the field in total. And it feels like every time the Celtics need him, he's just doing the right thing, which is something that we haven't seen in the past. I mean, with 2 minutes left in this game, he wasn't taking some like step back 3-pointer settling shot. He was getting into the lane. And I ultimately think that's what won us this game. And it's just another instant of his growth as a player.
Yeah, I agree with that. Look, I was happy to see the Celtics win. I still think I'm looking to see more from them to be like, okay, this is the team that I was expecting them to be, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? I still think that they're like a bit underachieving, but obviously they're playing against a Wizards team that they should blow out of the water tomorrow night. And then they have another test against the T-Wolves. But, everybody is going to be looking at the Celtics team and expecting them to continue to win games and go on a bit of a run right now. And that's what I want too, right? They're on a 3-game win streak. Let's see if we can push this to 6, 7, 8 games. You know what I mean? Really get us back into that, upper echelon category, which I already think we are in. But I just want us to take that 1 seed back in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, and we've got some tough games. I mean, it goes obviously you're expected to beat all these teams, but I mean, Wizards should be a blowout win, but you got to play the Timberwolves, you got to play the Clippers, and you got to play the Bulls. All teams they haven't been great, but they've been tough this season. So, definitely kind of winning the other night was a huge moral victory, I think, in the locker room. And I agree. You just got to keep it rolling now. I think some things that you look at, Al Horford played incredibly well. Derek White is playing.
He has games like that, though, where he just turns back the clock.
Yeah, he does.
It's awesome to watch.
Derek White played well. Peyton Pritchard is still playing incredibly. So, you really have nothing to complain about with this team. I thought that we shot over 50% from 3, over 50% from the field. So, I don't really think there's all that much that you can say about the Celtics. About the Cavs, I thought Darius Garland had one of the worst games of his career.
Yep.
And I think that until the last 2 minutes of the game, Donovan Mitchell had the quietest 35 points. I felt like we did a good job containing him, although obviously the stats will not tell you the same. But he went 3 for 11 from 3. And I think that Evan Mobley is a shoo-in for most improved player. I went into that game with a lot of doubts as to his play style. He just regularly proves me wrong. So I think it's time for me to hop on the train. He has been absolutely incredible, and he took that jump that we all have been waiting for.
Yeah, he has been the X factor for them for a while now, and the fact that he's been able to put it together alongside Jarrett Allen, like 2 big set, it's pretty commendable that they've been able to do that. But I just want to ask you a quick question about both the Eastern and Western Conference. We've done buy-sell a couple of times here. We're going to bring it back right now. I need a team from you that you are buying stock in the East right now and why that is.
A team that I'm buying stock in, if we're playing a pure buy-sell, like buy because it's low value. You would be a fool to not buy the Sixers because there's no way they end the season and last. But I'm a hater, so I'm going to be buying the Charlotte Hornets.
Okay.
I think that they've been very good so far. I think that Miles Bridges has been great. LaMelo Ball is putting up career highs in basically every statistical category. And Brandon Miller's really developing his game. And I love Trey Mann too. Like, I just really like this team, so I'm buying in on them.
All right, cool. Look, there aren't a lot of teams to buy in, I would say, just because there are so many bad teams in the East right now. But a team that I am going to buy in is their stock is decently low right now is the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't see them finishing anywhere outside the playoff picture, especially with just like the absolute middle class of the NBA right now that is in, the Eastern Conference. Like any team 4 from 12 is under 500, so it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like they're 6-9. They're starting to string some wins together. Giannis looks like he's putting this team on his back, and as long as they're above 500, they're going to make the playoffs, and I think they'll be dangerous there. So I'm going to buy some stock in the Bucks here.
A team that I am selling on, and it's not because I want to, but it's because I think they're going to trade away their players.
Okay.
The Brooklyn Nets, I think they are getting ready to go all in on a full-on rebuild. I think they're going to get rid of Dennis Schroeder. I think that they're going to shop Cam Johnson. I think they're going to shop Cam Thomas at the deadline to try and get as much value as possible. And right now they've been a good team this year, but they're kind of floating in that directionless space which is like an absolute death sentence for a team like them. So if I'm the Nets, I'm shopping those guys' value, and I'm turning it into draft stock, and I am selling on the Nets.
All right. I think that's probably a good choice. I think Cam Johnson will be gone by the deadline to a pretty solid team here. I'm going to sell stock in the Indiana Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton has looked like an absolute shell of himself this year. He has not played well. He only had 4 points, 8 assists, and 1 rebound in their game against the Rockets the other night. He has not played like an all-star caliber guard. And to be honest with you, he's just been very disappointing as the guy who's supposed to be the leader of this team. Obviously, like the star power of it's supposed to be him and Pascal, and the fact that he hasn't performed up to his caliber is a bit concerning to me. I think teams have started to figure his game out. So for that reason, I'm going to sell stock in the Indiana Pacers. Let's move over to the West, if that's okay with you. Mm-hmm. Give me one team that you're buying stock in right now.
One team that I'm buying stock in is the Memphis Grizzlies.
Okay.
They're sitting in 9th right now. They're part of that like giant group of teams that are hovering around 8-7, 9-7.
Yep.
Obviously, Ja has had a hard time staying on the court. They're out with guys like Zach Edey, who I thought has been great this year. And I mean, they're just dealing with issues up and down the squad. But I think that once they get Ja and GG Jackson both healthy on the floor at the same time, they're a legitimate threat to go on a serious run down the stretch. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that you've seen even the beginning of this Memphis Grizzlies team, and they're still hanging around 500. I'm buying stock in them.
All right. I'm going to buy stock in the Houston Rockets. We've been talking about them for a while.
That's bad value, dude. They're 4th right now.
I know they are, but I'm going to continue to buy because I think that this team is even better once they trade Fred VanVleet. And
I don't think he has that much value, dude.
He doesn't, which is why I think you get him off the roster as quickly as possible. But the way that Alperen Şengün has been playing right now, I mean, they look like a team that is genuinely going to make the playoffs, and for that reason, I'm happy in them. Give me a team that you are selling stock in from the Western Conference.
I was going to sell the Lakers, but they've won 6 straight. So I think I'm going to sell stock in the Lakers. I don't think that they'll drop that much, but I don't think that they will finish the season in 3rd, especially with such an old roster.
All right.
This isn't me like saying that they're going to be bad. Like normally when I'm selling in someone, I'm like thinking that they're going to drop to the bottom. I just don't see them staying around 3rd, especially over teams like the Nuggets and like the Phoenix Suns, who I think could make a serious run at some point when they get KD healthy on the floor. Yep. So I am selling in the Lakers.
Okay, I hear you. The team that I'm going to sell stock in right now is the Phoenix Suns. They're on a 5-game skid without KD. Look, I just don't think that they have the depth still to be a really good team in the NBA right now. And I think that Bradley Beal is just a shell of himself this year. He just has not performed well. And when this team isn't outscoring you, they're not out defending you. Although Ryan Dunn has been a really nice addition for them, I don't see him shooting the ball as well as he has for the rest of this season. And I just simply don't think they have enough bench production to, get over the hump.
Yeah, I think that they are suffering from a similar disease to the one that the Sixers are suffering from right now.
Okay.
And I think that we may have known that going into the season.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree.
Let's go back to the NFL. Let's round out this episode with our picks for the week.
Yeah, picks for the week.
We pushed last week. We both went 1-4.
Bad week.
Horrible week. We're just going to move straight past it, meaning that I have first pick again this week because it carries over.
Correct.
So with my first pick, I took the Detroit Lions minus 7.5 over it doesn't matter who they're playing. I'm still taking the Lions over the Colts. They just are the best team in football. So it was the obvious first choice.
I agree. I think that they do cover this game. I don't think the Colts are going to have a really good week. For me, my first pick here, I'm going to take the Seahawks +1 over the Cardinals. I don't know what I'm getting from either of these teams, but every time that I start to think, oh, Geno Smith sucks, he plays well and he makes a play, so I'm gonna bank on that, and I'm gonna take the Seahawks for this upcoming week here.
I think the Rams are a good football team. I have the Eagles over the Los Angeles Rams -2.5. I think the Rams are a good football team. I don't think they're a great football team, and I think the Eagles are a great football team. I think that this is a tester game for them, and if they win, it will be by more than 3. So I'm taking the Eagles.
Okay. I thought the next logical pick here would be the Ravens -2.5 over the Chargers. I think that they normally have a bounce back week after a loss, and I don't think this Chargers team is as good as their record says. Although they just did pick up a big win against the Bengals, their second half kind of indicated to me that they kind of take their foot off the gas, and I don't think that's a thing that you can do against this Lamar Jackson-led Ravens offense.
Yeah, I think that's the right pick. My final one, I talked about Bo Nix a lot on the show. I think that they're hot right now. They're playing a horrible Raiders team, probably the worst team in the NFL right now.
Probably.
I am going to take Bo Nix and the Broncos -6 over the Raiders.
Don't hate it. It's a division matchup, which maybe would make me sway towards my next pick before that one. I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings -3.5 over the Chicago Bears, who have looked all out of sorts this year. And that's another division matchup, so I don't know why I made the division point. But that being said, you get the picture. Those are our 3 picks for this upcoming week. Let's talk about Game of the Week, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Game of the Week here. We got the San Francisco 49ers versus the Green Bay Packers. As we mentioned earlier, we have no idea what's going on in this game. This game could go any way, shape, or form. And for that reason, I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers because I think that they've just been more consistent this year than the San Francisco 49ers have.
It's good. We have a disagreement. I am going to go with the 49ers. I think that they looked good last week. I didn't think they looked great. I didn't think they looked great the week before. At some point, they're going to figure out that giving the ball to McCaffrey 3 times every single drive, just give him the ball until he stops getting first downs is going to work, and they're going to employ that. So I think this may be the week, and I have the 49ers going into Lambeau and winning.
Word. Let's talk not game of the week, shall we?
Yeah, I mean, this is just Patriots football, man. It is just never a game that I would want in the quad box if I was not a Patriots fan.
Yeah,
it's like
at Miami too. Damn.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm thinking of games that I want to watch, and I'm like, all right, I want these 4, but I have to get rid of one of them because I have to have the Patriots. And I mean, at what point is it really that worth it, right? At least Drake May was balling, and he was balling.
He's been playing well. He's been playing well. That being said, the Dolphins will win this game. So
I agree. I totally agree. Even though the first one was tight, they did not have Tua, and we still lost. I think the Dolphins take this.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Dolphins win this one, and I think that's all I got to say about that. I think Drake May continues to play well, though, which he has impressed me thus far.
But at what point do we want to stop winning games? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. Let's get a pick. Let's get Travis Hunter.
All right. Well, that's all she wrote for this episode. And then until next time, we may have a little in-person episode next week. But hey, I mean, I don't want to tease anything, but until next time, this has been the Corner Office, and I'm Jack Byrne.
And I'm Alex Penders.
Corner 3. Sam Hauser shot 2 hands. Corner 3.
Does he shoot with 2 hands?
Sometimes.